Humans believe killing us is wrong, yet war is a part of history. To make killing easier, we move the them, the enemy, outside the larger category of humans. We dehumanize the enemy to justify killing. Soldiers in World Wars I and II found it easier to kill Huns and Japs than fellow humans. Years later, categories change, and the former enemy, although still them, gains readmission to the human group. Our people types are changeable. Categories change with time. Many 19th century Americans considered people from Ireland as suited only for work and fighting, and were subject to discrimination and injustice. The ancient Greeks called slaves andropoda, the human-footed stock. 19th century white settlers sometimes spoke of an Indian man as a buck, and the woman as a squaw. Throughout history, some thems, including women and children, were classified more as property than people. We find it difficult to believe much of the civilized world once accepted slavery as natural. But once some thems are grouped as not human, the path to slavery becomes frighteningly short. Those outside the human label can be enslaved or killed, and their prosecutors will be praised as heroes. Our us and them boundaries change both with time and place. An American visiting an Asian country is much more aware of being an American than when visiting another city in the U.S. Likewise, a visitor from China is much more aware of being Chinese walking in an American city than back home. We form temporary but often important us groups. For example, with people on the same tour or cruise, people in the same school class, members of the same military squadron, neighbors, parents of kids the same age, or summer camp kids sleeping in the same bunkhouse. Any sports contest demonstrates both in teams and fans how we form us and them groups. Fans are an us group, a tribe. In a sense, sport is a non-violent simulation of war, a chance to engage in the tribal emotions of us versus them without paying a deadly price. In summary, realize that stereotypes are part of how we make sense of the world, but grouping does not require treating people unjustly. Accept that you hold prejudices and stereotypes. Learn to recognize them so they do not become an excuse for mistreating others. Realize that you think of them in a different way than you think of us. Realize that the people types you hold important are based on selective ignorance. Your perception is shaped by your beliefs. Be aware of beliefs about people types imposed on you by others. Also understand that these beliefs will not be presented as stereotypes, but as truth. We might feel comfortable and proud living in a small circle of us, but the price for this comfort is an overwhelmingly huge circle of them. The tribes of us and them suit our minds well. But we now know that in spite of countless categories and people types, there is one basic and critical us.